All right, so we're going to go over File Transfer Protocol, also known as FTP. And this is really great if you have your machine here, and you have your Raspberry Pi here, and you want to get files from here over to here. So really all you need to do this is a single application. I personally like one called FileZilla. And so I have actually already gone to filezilla-project.org, where I can go and download the FileZilla client. So I'm going to click on that.
Notice the same language again here. It's the FileZilla client, which means the server. It's going to be running over here.
And I am choosing just the regular FileZilla, not the FileZilla Pro, because I'm cheap. And the regular FileZilla is free, while Pro maybe not so much. And so I'm going to download this. And it's your turn to talk for a while.
Did you already install it?
No, I'm installing it now.
Already installed it?
Oh, it's probably on my machine.
So while this is downloading, what types of files might I want to put on my Pi or get off my Pi?
Anything. One thing that I like to do is I'll often code something on my Windows machine. Like maybe I'll use Python or one of the other languages that are available here. And then I want to test it on my Pi. So I can just copy the files right on over and then run them on my Pi.
Why don't you do all of your development on the Pi directly?
Slower machine. There are better IDEs or programs for coding. I have sometimes done my coding directly on the Pi or across VNC like we saw before. But usually I like to code on my desktop or my laptop and then copy the files over and test them there.
So what about like pictures and movies and that kind of stuff? If I
That
just have
copies
media
too.
files?
Yep.
So I can bring those across and
You certainly can.
watch a movie from my Pi?
Yep.
Great. So could I connect it to a TV and then have media files on my Pi and then use that like as a cool smart TV controller?
So the only way you could do that is if this had an HDMI port, which conveniently it does.
Oh wait, that's right.
Yeah.
Great.
So yes, you can do that. As a matter of fact, many people will use their Pis as basically media servers to hold all their movies, their music, and play it using their Pi.
So what about like backing up my home machine? Would that be a good use?
Yeah, maybe not.
Why not?
Because there's just not enough power.
Yeah.
And you could hook up external hard drives to get the storage, but in general, not real powerful, so not the best option.
The SD card that we have in here is only 16 gigs, which is fair. You know, it'll hold a couple of movies, it'll hold lots of pictures or lots of music, but to back up a machine or to use for massive storage, or if you're transferring like a lot of files constantly, not so good.
Yeah.
But in this case here, we just want to transfer, let's just say a file from my desktop machine into the Pi.
And I'm done installing, or downloading, so I'm going to go ahead and install now.
As we go through and do this, we're giving you sort of a top-level view of what it takes to get the Pi up and running for the very first time. And on each one of these pieces, like just using the standard applications that we showed, you could take any one of those things and just stop there and spend time there if that's something that's new to you, or if you've already done that, or you're good with Office and you don't want to try it out on the Raspbian platform, then you can jump ahead and start trying to connect and use the Pi in new ways. I think, from my perspective, and Tom kind of showed this as well, as a PC, it's kind of underpowered, right? It's a lot more fun when we do cool and unusual things with the Raspberry Pi. That's why we're talking here about the 3 different ways to connect, using VNC to have a full desktop experience, sharing files, and then in the next segment we'll talk about how to run commands. But I think we're up, right?
Yep. And one more thing that makes the Pi so special is that GPIO port, because it allows you to connect hardware and sensors. You can control robots. You can do a lot of cool things. And for a low-cost computer, you can do some really neat projects. And we'll get to some of that down the road. Right now, let's finish up with some FTP using FileZilla. So FileZilla is installed. It has run. Oh, let me minimize my, there we go. All right, now to connect to it, I need that IP address again. So let's go ahead and open up a terminal window.
Did I click on it?
There we go. And type in ifconfig. Scroll down and we can see that number here, 192.168.43.79. And so I'm going to put that in here as my host number, 192.168.
While Tom's typing that, your number will be different, right? These numbers, the 192.168 is just for the local network. So our 192.168 is different from your 192.168 or 72.16 and whatever else comes after it. So just make sure that you're getting the IP address for your Raspberry Pi. And when you're doing these remote connections, before you get comfortable with it and you know what IP address is assigned to your Pi, it is handy to have a monitor, keyboard, and mouse connected to the Pi, so you can easily look this up.
Yep. Okay, then it wants my username and password. And remember the default username and password. Username is Pi. Password is Raspberry. And then it asks for the port, and the port is 22. That's the standard port. Oop, I'm clicking on my touch screen there. That's the standard port for an FTP connection. I'm going to hit Quick Connect. And I can save my password if I want to. I'm not going to bother that right now.
Oh, no. So the port that Tom was just talking about, consider a machine like a house with doors and windows. And by default, we usually want those closed. But if we're going to connect over VNC, if we're going to connect over FTP, then we need to unlock that door, so to speak, or open the window so that the traffic can communicate through that machine. Did it work?
I'm not connecting.
Why not?
I think we need to go give permissions. So,
is the port open? Is the port open on the Pi?
The port is not open on the Pi. So let's go into our configuration. It's raspi, R-A-S-P-I -config.
So I'm using the up arrow here. I've already typed this command in once, and I don't feel like typing it again.
And we have to run this as a super user. So it's sudo raspi-config. All right. Let's go to localization options, or excuse me, interfacing options. Yeah, there we go. And let's open up the SSH. Hit yes. Hit OK. And finish, because I don't think we need to do anything else on the FTP. SSH actually runs on port 22 as well. So let me try to connect again. Make sure I put port 22, quick connect. And it says, boom, there it is. And here are my files on the Raspberry Pi.
Is there some way we can show that?
Yeah, we probably can.
So let's go documents.
So there are 3 folders inside documents. There is BlueJ projects, Greenfoot projects, and Scratch projects, which are all listed right there. And I can either
put a text file in there.
Use this interface. Usually what I do is I don't bother worrying about the left side. I just browse to whatever I want. So I've actually got...
You just create a new one.
I could. But I think I've actually got... Let me see if I've got something Pythonish. So I'm going to click on a little project that I've been working on. And I'm going to copy it right into that folder just by dragging it over. And you'll see it's now in there. And if you look...
So I'm doing ls, which lists the contents of the directory that I'm in right now, which happens to be documents. I did change directory, and then I typed in documents to get there. And now when I say, hey, documents directory, tell me what you contain, we can see that topstories.py is here, which is exactly what Tom copied.
And if you type in Python space top_stories.py and hit enter, it actually is listing a whole bunch of top news stories that it's reading from the internet. This is the beginning of a project that I'm working on. Hopefully we'll share that with you in the future.
And if I wanted to see the contents of that, what was the name of the file again?
top_stories.py.
So I'm going to use a text editor here to take a look at the code that we actually executed. If you're new to software, this will be something that is, foreign to you. It's not a big deal, but this is just Python code that we executed on the computer when I ran that Python, the Python command followed by the code file.
And when I'm done copying files over, I can just disconnect, clicking that little red X there. It disconnects. I'm no longer connected to that Raspberry Pi, and I can't copy files over unless I reconnect.